kind of performance this evening. Have I got clearance? Thank you. Wow. So, welcome. I feel like I'm talking to an audience I already know. That's in front of us, a live audience here this evening. And we also have an online audience. So I'm just saying welcome to you too. And we will have an audience that will capture this and probably have the opportunity to see this after we've done the session. So play back and be able to see that. Welcome to what we have titled Making Work Across Continents and Artforms. And this conversation that we're going to have, and I do hope it is a conversation, will hopefully open up an unapologetically Black conversation around the work that we believe is here to be shared, experienced, and explored. My name is Sharon Watson. I'm the CEO and the principal of the Northern School of Contemporary Dance, and I'm absolutely delighted to say that we are in the process of celebrating our 40th year. It's a significant moment. Thank you. It really is a significant moment for us, knowing where this school started and where we feel we can take our future. And it involves you here as an audience, it involves those online, and those that will encounter this conversation in the future. Because we didn't get here on our own, we didn't get here because our vision wasn't broad or wasn't welcoming. And this is a real opportunity to delve into a space that perhaps has been a long time coming for us, a long time coming in being able to offer something that's very diverse, but also it's kind of, we're drawing from the continent, which is something I think we've long wanted to have happen. And here we are with an opportunity to really give you the insight into that. I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight. We are going to ask questions and have conversation. And now in a moment, I'll ask you to introduce yourselves, the panel that you can see here. But first of all, I just wanted to acknowledge that this conversation has been funded by the Arts Council. And we're delighted it's an extension of our Northern Colour programme, for which previously we've had support of individuals, mainly in terms of the offer, the guidance, and the delivery of work that was quite bespoke and delivered in a way that's quite unusual, that really deals with the individuals. We've taken the idea and extended it to the continent, and here we've opened up the Verve Residencies, to be able to present to you a conversation that enables us to really delve a little bit deeper, perhaps step in a little bit away from our comfort zone, and to figure out what it is that this will enable us to do in the future. So you can see here in front of us, we have three beautiful women who are here to share their ideas and hopefully take some questions from the floor, questions online, and yeah, let's kind of explore what it is that we're doing here and why it is that we're here this evening. So I'm going to start and ask you very kindly to introduce yourselves. I'm not going to attempt to do that. And to give us a little bit of an insight into your relationship with your work, and your relationship with this particular program, why you're here, and of course, the Northern School of Contemporary Dance. And I'm going to start with you, Alexandra. So if you wouldn't mind, I know you have an existing relationship, so please take us away.
So my name's Alesandra Seutin, and I'm a dance maker. Dance movement is at the center of my work, but I work on different levels with voice, text, music, fine arts, visual arts. I am based in Brussels at the moment when I'm not working. Otherwise, I work quite internationally. I am here as a mentor for Teresa. I was, kindly asked by Matteo to be part of this project, and I found it very interesting since I have worked with Verve and created a piece on Verve in 2022, I think. Am I right? I think so, yes. And it was a great experience, and I'm also connected, I'm going to say it, but to Sharon, because my first ever commission was here in Leeds with Phoenix Dance. I created a duet that was commissioned by Sharon Watson when she was artistic director. So those are my connections to Leeds, Northern, and where we are right now.
Wow, that goes back. That was my first program in 2000 and goodness. Thank you for reminding me of that. That was a beautiful piece of work, by the way. 2010. Wonderful. Yeah, that work is in the library, I think. If you want to see it, it's worth having a look at. So if it isn't, we'll get it in there. And Vicki.
Hello. Hi. Let's start again. Hello. Okay, cool, because it needs some energy, needs some two-way conversation. My name is Vicki Igbokwe-Ozoagu. I am a coach, choreographer, movement director. Ultimately, whether we meet in a studio, on the stage, in a Zoom room, my whole essence and being of work is about supporting you to understand that your superpower is being you and figuring out exactly what that means. As a lover of dance, I get to do a lot of that through the body, but I also get to do that through conversation. I remember being like 14, 15 and realizing I wanted to be a choreographer because I was supposed to be a barrister. That's what Nigerian parents had in store for me. But I remember realizing I didn't really know what choreographers do. I didn't really understand it, but I think they made dances that made people happy, and I wanted in. I wanted that to be like my contribution to the world, I guess. And I've known Sharon Sharon for me is like one of our mentors in this industry. So I've known Sharon for many, many years, and also have known the school for many years as well. This time last year, I relocated to Leeds, so I've been London-based. Thank you. Got one fan in the audience. Thank you, thank you. So that is a bigger connection now, actually living and being in this part of the UK, and actually really just like learning what is out here. I definitely was one of those people who thought the world stopped after London, and now I'm like, look at all the amazingness that is going on. I also have a really massive connection with Alesandra. This is my sister in dance and all things. The first time that, the second time, it's the first time I went to Ghana, but the first time I went to École des Arts, I think I've been twice, maybe 3 times now. Yeah. They've all been in working with Alesandra at the school as well. And we also found that we have been in a room together via Alesandra, so she reminded us just before we started. I have a company called Uchenna. I also work in theatre as well, so I work with dancers, but also actors. The last couple of shows, so the one I'm currently working on and the one I finished that is touring, has been actors, theatre, working with puppetry and dance, and so there's lots of like collaboration, yeah, in that plane. But I think I'll stop there.
You will come back again, and just to say welcome to the north of England. Things do happen here, and I'm extending that welcome to everyone. The north of England, we've got a lot going on here, so yeah. Beyond the M25 is something that we did last year, just to let people know things can take place outside of London. And what's incredible is our audience are from all over the world right now. We have them from the UK, from Nigeria, from Canada, from Portugal, from Uganda. And I'm going to pass on for you to tell us exactly where you're from and your relationship 2 days into being here with us. Is that correct? Yeah. Teresa, off you go.
Thank you. Hi. How are you? I'm good, thanks. Thank you again. My name is Teresa Puthi Mojela. I am a performing artist, born and raised in South Africa. I'm a storyteller. I'd like to call myself a storyteller because I am not only dancing, also there's acting, there's music. I find myself collaborating with any artist in any art form, even that goes to even to the digital arts, to the photographers and visual artists as well. And I believe more, or I love more than anything, development. I work with children from the age of 2 years. I mentor young female dancers and even artists at large. And I am a choreographer, I'm a dancer, I'm a mother. Yay! And I'm independently produce my own works. And I'm an independent theater maker. And for me, being here, and spending the 2 days already. It has been amazing. I'm the artist mentored by Alesandra, and is my mic working? Yes, it is working. Thank you. And also the reason is I am currently in a research of a work, a solo work. I'm Mupedi woman from Limpopo province, 4 hours away from Johannesburg in South Africa, if you've been to Johannesburg. And my culture as a Mupedi woman, there are different types of dance that we have. That is Dinaka dance. It's mainly made by male. And then there's Kiba, also it's male. And then there's Koshaya Dikuru, that's for women. But because of the, I don't know, maybe there's the strong physicality, or me being that strong female who loved more than anything the male side of the dance, because I want to explore it more. I feel like there's more that the men are doing, and I feel like as a woman I can handle that. So in my piece I am exploring that, and the reason also why I'm here at Verve is for the participants that I'm working with, is to help me to think through the process and to find a different language with fused, I don't know if I want to say fuse it with a contemporary dance or any dance form, but it's just to find a language. Because I believe that dance or movement is a universal language. We can, like now in the room, we are from different countries, but when we move, we speak one language. And also, I work mainly with community arts programs, development, schools in art. I work with female prison, also music as well. My mom said I can't sing, but I believe that I have a good ear when it comes to music, because I can be able to I can be able to work with a music composer and be like, this is the kind of sound I want. And being a Mopedi woman, the music that I'm exploring within my piece, or within the exploration that now I'm doing, or my interest in it, is the Pedi music and the sound. Hopefully on Friday we'll have a showing, and hopefully some of you will be there to really experience what I'm talking about, the sound. Because in South Africa, Bapedi culture, it's not, especially the dance and the heritage or the culture, it's not explored, globally. So I feel like if I'm not here also to teach my culture, but is to make it, or to bring it speak, that it's there, it exists. There's, different cultures that we have. Because when you go to South Africa and Joburg, we all speak Zulu, even though we're not both Zulus. So that's the language that is dominant. But then we have other languages that are there. So for me now, it's for me to really going back to my culture, going back to my roots, reconnect with myself. And our exercises for these two days that I've been here with, it was to focus on your name. Who are you? Without these titles that we have, who am I? Who is Teresa, or who is Puthi? Because some of people know me as Teresa and then others know me as Puthi. So it has been that. And also, I rediscovered a lot of things about myself being here, because I said to them, I don't want to only give, but we are here to learn, to share everything. Thank you so much. I hope I'm not talking too much.
You kind of jumped into the question bit, which is fine, You've given us an insight, which is wonderful, because I think I just want to bring the others into thinking. We got here because the conversation with the artistic director of Verve, Matteo, we talked about changing the perspective of how we engage with our students in particular. The Verve program, the dancers change every year. And this year was an opportunity for us to make sure that they had a different experience, an experience that actually responds to what's going on in the wider world. And without really thinking creatively about how we do that, then we only produce what we've always done. So the conversation enabled us to think, how can we do this differently? We have the opportunity to invite 2 artists, one in 25 and one in 26, to be able to work with our Verve students. They're on the master's program, so we feel intellectually this is an opportunity for them to really think about what's different, what informs their art, what's going to be different about what they bring to the world, and how do we as teachers, educators, lecturers in this space equip our students with the right kind of tools to go out there and make themselves amazing, amazing artists, but really think about their social and their conscious responsibilities to society. It's a big job. Nobody gets it done within a year, believe me. So it's an opportunity to really kind of have those conversations. And the questions that came out of the dialogue with the artistic director was, what is it that you bring with you or with us? And what is it that we let go in order to gain? And that's usually one of my questions whenever I'm in a space. What do you relinquish in order to gain? And I guess in a way, whilst we're talking about making work across continents and different art forms, I'm going to ask that question to each of you. What do you bring with you that enables us to gain? And also, what do you leave behind? I mean, you were only here with us for 5 days, effectively, and we've not asked you to produce a piece of work, but to give us an experience. So perhaps maybe, yeah, just if you feel ready to answer that question.
What do I bring? I bring all of me. I bring my experiences, I bring my culture, I bring the fact that I love voguing and drag queens because of the experiences I had in New York. I bring my heritage, which is Nigerian, via the way of being in this country, because I was born in Nigeria but raised in the UK. I bring my love for people. I bring my love for conversations. And I think that's the thing. That's why when I started talking about my thing ultimately is like your superpower is being you. That's the thing that I bring. I bring the ancestors. I was in rehearsal yesterday choreographing a section for this show that I'm working on. And I was like, listen, I'm channeling my mum right now. If you don't have an older, or you've not seen an older African or Caribbean mummy or auntie when they're in their flow in their bag, this is the energy. So I bring all of that into the space, because actually for me, my thing is I'm not in any particular room or around a table by accident. And that's also the message that I want to give to you as well. And I think the thing that I leave behind is 50% of my ego, because collaboration, whether it's in Leeds, in London, in Senegal, in Baku, I've done, Olympic ceremonies. I've had to, live in Baku, Azerbaijan for several months. I've also done that in Russia, working on, Sochi 2014 games. There's something about you've got to leave space for the magic. That is all of the voices and all of the people and all of the talent and the knowledge in the room. And I think that amongst all of the things that I could talk about, I think has been like the most useful thing, is going into the process and going, I have to leave 50% of my ego at the door to see what this mix of people produces. Because you could change that team 10 times and get 10 different beautiful pieces of work. So yeah, stop there.
Vicki, I'm just going to stay with you for one moment just to answer a follow-on question from that. We often say that the ownership and authenticity of the work is really something that we own, but we also want to share. How do you do that without being tokenistic or compromising in terms of the work?
It's conversation for me. When I'm in the space with the team, again, I'm thinking about the actors that I was working with yesterday, or it may be dancers that I'm working with. There's something about where do we meet in the middle? Because my idea for a show or idea for a particular scene resonates with me because I'm accessing something that's maybe happened in the past. But in order for us to all kind of find ourselves in that, it's about conversation, it's about dialogue. The show that we made earlier on in the year, we had a young cast, and we bamboozled their brains for the first couple of days of rehearsal because we were actually asking them questions about themselves and their thoughts and building character profiles. And, one of them turned around and said, I've never had this. I just get told what to do. I just get told what the steps are. I just get told dance on that 5, 6, 7, 8. So us just having this dialogue and time to think is, you know, is incredible. So I think for me, there's something about conversation. This is what my thought is, but how does that resonate with you? And if you've not had that experience, what's a experience that's close that you can hold on to as we go through this creative process?
Thank you.
So there's a lot that's been said, but I would say that I definitely bring baggage, knowledge, everything that I am, but also a lot of humility. I work with very different people. Like recently I've worked with Germaine Acogny, who's 81, created a solo on my mentor. So it was very interesting because I'm bringing all of me, but at the same time, this is an 81-year-old human artist who has also been my mentor. How do I figure out how to still be myself, truly me, direct her, but also honor the knowledge she has and the age? And then I work in an opera and knowing, oh, dance, we are at the bottom of the, the ladder in the opera. So how do I gauge this position with not being at the top because I'm not the conductor? So knowing, okay, this is my hat, but understanding how to still put dance in the right position and dancers who are performing at the right place. And then in my own production, working with all my collaborators, being in a way at the center, but giving enough space for everyone to speak, to feel like the work belongs to them, because that's always my mission. When I come into a space, I want everyone to feel like by the end that it's all ours. It's not mine. It's not Alessandra's. It's our. We all have ownership on this. If it fails, it's all of you. We are all in this together. It's not just me, but we all have a responsibility. So I also bring responsibility, humility, but I always speak to people and say, I'm not a messiah. I don't have it all. I don't know it all. I don't come with the truth. I come with what I know. And let's see how we find our truth in the space together and bring it out to the world. And what I leave, hopefully, is that it's some form of knowledge. It's an experience of all that I am, everything that I carry from mentors, from people that I've met, from the countries that I've traveled in, from the sounds, everything that resonates. Vicki spoke about ancestors. That's always something that I say, I'm walking with my ancestors. But I also want to make it really clear that a lot of people, when they hear ancestors, they're thinking, oh, this spiritual thing. If you have any parents, family, a child who passed away, they are ancestors. So they are part of, they in a way, it's someone that you've come across, or part of you that is also in your journey. And I wouldn't be also here if I didn't have ancestors, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't have ancestors. So I just want to make it really clear that it's coming from it's a very natural thing, but we speak a lot about it on the continent because we always believe that we are because they were. So that's also what I bring, and I hopefully leave a lot of imprints and tools for people to take ownership of what they've been given and make it their own. Yeah.
Fabulous. I'm just going to share a little story that I think is relevant when you just talk about ancestors. A few years ago, we invited, excuse me, Jonge Santos. Jongi. And he also worked with the opera with us, with Phoenix, and recreated The Rite of Spring, which was incredible. And I think what he talked a lot, and his practice was about acknowledging the ancestors. And one of the real things about that journey that I remember, he had an interview with the very, very important newspaper in our world today. It wasn't a dance magazine, but it was one of those that the papers were asking about the ancestral connections and wanted him to educate the readers. And he just said, it's not my job. No. But it's not my job to do that. You need to go and find out what it means, because I live it day to day. Every day I walk into the studio, I walk with my ancestors. When I'm talking to you, I talk with And it was the relevance of that moment, and I think for the dancers, of understanding what they bring with them in that space. Because as you say, we all have ancestors and they're informed by different experiences and different journeys. And that's something I think I'll come back to when we talk, when I've got a few more questions about the ancestry connection and why that's really relevant. But you're here and you've done 2 days with us. In your interview with the three of us and Matteo, we were really fascinated by what it is that you were bringing to the table and to answer the question around what you bring and what you leave behind. But you have a particular way of working right now that's informing your practice. Do you want to just give us some insight into that?
Okay, I remember even when I was asked this question, I said, I'm bringing myself. um, so, as the ladies were saying, speaking about that collaboration or cross-border is a dialogue, it's a conversation you discuss with the people in the room so that it doesn't also feel like you are imposing your culture to people, but you just want to know and understand where they're coming from. And then also with you that this is what I'm bringing into this space. And then maybe help me to think, or let's all maneuver around the space. And also, when you're speaking about the ancestors, yes, when I speak, they are here. I feel home because when I mention them or when I acknowledge them, and also I felt like I could just say, greet everyone in my mother tongue, which is Dumelang. And then I know when I say that, I'm acknowledging them that they are here, they feel at home as well. My work is, most of my works, I don't know if it's spiritual or, but I acknowledge my ancestors, and like this work that I'm exploring now, which is the womb soil, but it's a working title at the moment. So we spoke about footprint, and I believe that also a womb, the actual womb, it has footprints, because I believe that all of us, or we once existed in the spiritual realm before we physically there, because there was your great grandmother, your grandmother, your other great 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 great, and then so that womb, it's a footprint, and then there's me as well, or there's you as well. So, and then within this work that I'm exploring the questions of when we die as people, where do we go? What would be, or what is it if we go back to the actual womb? What will the body do? What will happen to the body? Will it expand? Or are you gonna be trapped in there? Or is it, do you dissolve? What is it? So those are the questions that I've been asking myself. And I think it's from the grief, the loss, because you just wanna keep your loved ones closer to you than, you have to always go and visit the grave to see them. But okay, they are here, without even asking any questions. If you wanna communicate, you feel closer to them. But those are the questions I don't have answers as yet. Hence, we are still exploring the work. And also going back to the collaboration, I worked with a lot of choreographers, writers, directors, and for me to also to come here and share for these 2 days and going again until Friday, it's that I was nurtured. I was raised by a village. So I believe that also here they need someone to also to share with. And then again, it's that I've learned something, and then now what do I do with it? I do share with it with other people to also to, again, when you get into a space, I empty my cup so that I can fill it with more information or knowledge to get from other people that I'm in space with. Irregardless of you are a student and I'm a teacher, I believe that I'll learn something from you. There's something that I might not have, but a musician might have, and I'm like, why not collaborate? And then by doing that, I will rediscover or discover a lot of things about myself. And yeah, I think that's that for now.
I'm going to just take a breather and ask if there's anyone in the audience that wants to respond to anything that they've heard at the moment. And there's a lot that has been shared. There's wonderful. Hi.
Oh. This thing about ancestry I think is interesting because I was speaking with someone recently who is someone that I work for, and I wonder, this is not an idea that I've explored a lot in my own mind, but I think that we work in a really interesting industry world where people, when you leave people that you've worked with or I guess performed work by, or they've influenced you somehow, it's like their influence lives within you physically. It's something that I've realized, that if you I don't know, dig into a specific movement quality or idea, you kind of take that with you physically beyond working with that person. So I wonder if this idea of ancestry is always about it always comes from a place of someone leaving this existence, or whether that can exist while the person is still going about their life elsewhere.
Can I?
Feel free.
No, I'm speaking for myself, but ancestors usually someone that's passed, that no longer is physically, visually present.
Yeah.
I think in this side of the world, we have people die and then we kind of forget about them. But the respect for the elder is really high in other parts of the world, even Asia and other parts of the world where the elder is really part of the household. So when they go, even younger ones, babies, or when they go, they, in a way, it's believing that, there's a writer, Birago Diop, who wrote this text, beautiful text, about the idea that the dead are not dead. They live in the wind and the trees and everything that we encounter on a daily basis. So, in a way, encountering the ancestors is the wind that blows on your face, might be that, touching a tree, connecting to the soil, seeing an animal come to you. It's this idea that our spirits live in everything, and they're still present on our daily, everyday lives. We wake up and it's like, yeah, we are here, we are breathing, we're still part of this realm. But the idea of the ancestors is that they're part of another realm, but very present inside of our realm, that they're still there, even if we don't physically see them or touch them, but they're still somewhere with us, and that that's my answer.
Just to add on, Alexandra, I think also they have a way of communicating. Now you're speaking about they live everywhere, the wind, and if they have something they want to tell you, because sometimes people will dream and say, I dreamt of my great-grandmother or my father or my whoever that passed, they're trying to send a message. And then if you constantly keep on having the same dream, trying to tell you something and you're not paying attention to it, sometimes they communicate with you, you just find yourself falling, you don't know why, so I feel like, okay, it's them trying to communicate with you, saying, can you pay attention to this? So when you spoke about the wind, and it kind of like, oh, actually, yes, that's how they communicate, Or sometimes a random person that you don't know, they'll just pass and say something to you, and then they are gone. And you're like, okay, so you have to go back and say, actually, I have to listen. We just have to listen and just acknowledge that they're there, yes. Sure, thanks.
I think it's quite interesting. Thank you very much for that question. But it's very interesting that we operate in the Western world. So this, where we're located and how we are, we pay less attention, I would say, to that energy that comes from the different elements or people or coordinations of things that happen to us. And in some ways, it's very often the thing that's said, and there are a lot of educators sitting in front of us that say, you're not the first. So you need to understand what that really means, that you are not the first to have achieved this. You're not the first to have experienced this. You're not the first to send this into the world. So where does it come from? How has it happened before you? How has it happened? And I think that's a form of education now where we know within our students, the way in which they're learning, they can often feel like they're the first to do something. But there's a whole history of people and experiences that have done this before you. You may be doing it slightly different, but I think that experience of those that have gone before and those that are kind of just not in your life at the moment, but not past, is a very different experience. So, Vicki, do you have any comment on that?
You spoke for both of us, by the way, because you said, I was just speaking for myself, but I agree with what you said. And I think absolutely all that the ladies have said, and it feels like, Alex, what you're maybe exploring is like impact and influence that different, teachers, choreographers, other performers that you've worked with. So I think that's where I'd make the distinction in terms of our ancestors and those that have transcended into a different realm that you can feel. Sometimes I smell my mom's perfume and I'm like, okay, I need to take a moment and stop. Are you trying to tell me something? Are you just here in the space? Going back to rehearsal yesterday, I actually said, Mummy, I need you. I need to bang out this choreography, but I know it's within your vibe. And she delivered. So I feel like what you're talking about in terms of those that are still here with us are the people that have impacted and influenced. I think about like two of my mentors, Gina Jean Charles and Hakeem Onibudo, who I met, both of them at like the early parts of my career. Also someone else that's actually in the room right here, Miss Joanne Bernard, who probably slapped me afterwards, but hey, is another person that in terms of, she's here, she's in the physical realm, has been there at the start of my journey with the company, have had the pleasure of working with her on the last show we did that we created for Uchenna. And again, Thank you. So I think that was my distinction in hearing the question, and also how the ladies responded is, I feel like where you're exploring is that impact and influence, which is all valid, because we need our ancestors, and you also need your people that are here in the physical realm that you can touch and go, I'm fighting for my life trying to make this show right now, what are we doing? And that's also really important as well.
Can I just say something? I also don't want to feel like people, it's this thing, because it's we speaking about it in a very casual way. And I can imagine that for some, if you're agnostic or you're like, wow, they are living in another dimension. But even my dad, who's agnostic, used to take me to trees and tell me about, beings living in trees. So it's also been told in stories or fables that you have read that are talking about it, but we don't always recognize it. So even within this part of the world, I don't really like to say West or East or blah, blah, within this part of the world, we also have that belief, but it's been lost because we take less time to look at ants or insects or little things. We look at concrete and we go on with our life. Time is different. So I guess when you're in other places, you have more time to observe and listen. You'll see the stars clearer. You won't see them as clearly here. You'll see ants and their journeys, and you'll have time to sit because the pace is different. Whereas here we are going, so we don't have much time to really observe. But if you take time to tune in, we all have that. It's there. So it's not something, it exists in movies, and if it didn't exist, it exists because it really exists, in a way. So yeah.
That's great. Let's just ground it. Make it real. I'm going to just go back a little bit. You won an award for that production. And I know the Black British Awards are very prestigious. They're very meaningful. And congratulations, because these things don't happen by chance. Somebody took the time to invest in what you were doing to see the worth. And I just want to say, could we congratulate Vicki and her team?
Thank you. Joanne's in the building. Miss Joanne is there. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm just going to ask the artistic director of Verve a question, because we're here We are here because you had a vision, and with the growth and conversations that we've been having, it's brought us to this point where we're discussing and we're having conversation around something that's very, very different. How have you prepared the students for what they're experiencing this week?
So we did a lot of work at the beginning of the season when we started in September. And I think there is something that Alesandra said about humility. And there was something that Vicki said was about ego. And I think there was something about humility, ego, and openness of encountering people with differences, people with new stories, people that come from different journeys than us, and how those elements are opportunities for us to learn about ourselves through others. So for me, it was important that there was that openness of reciprocate learning through stories and people. And also something Teresa said about movement. You know, movement is universal. And try not to associate movement to who you have in front, you know, but just associate movement to how it feels when you embody it, when it's been offered to you. It's been offered from someone that has got a different experience of their body, but how do you make it yours? How do you make that experience yours? And therefore develop it and evolve it into something new. Yeah.
Now, as a student, I would welcome that in my day in order to make sure that I continue to grow and experience different. And how have you received that?
It was well received. The energy was beautiful. I think the preparation as well. We did an amazing work because sometimes you can enter into a room and then you find that the energy is blocked. You're trying to pierce through, you know, it's just like that. And at the end of the day, you get tired, not because of from the movement, the dance and all that, but because of you've been trying to push, to pierce through to people's energies. And then with this one, it was just amazing. It was welcoming. So I felt at home. Even today, you know, we have now and then after maybe a certain session, we'll have conversation of like a feedback from them to hear if we are in the same page. Are we still there? Are we still alive? And they just like, you know, every day they discover something new. Every day they lose something else and then they just open themselves. Most of them, they spoke about freedom. They spoke about togetherness, you know. They're just becoming themselves now and it was just amazing. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's a great achievement in day 2 to really open the space and have it so welcoming. Your observations of the process.
So my thing is about decentering whiteness in dance schools, and I'm really speaking about that in the perspective of, when I say whiteness, I'm talking about the forms that are associated to it, like ballet and contemporary that is more done here, because I think that's in a way the mission of this, and I was reinforcing it today when someone said, oh, it was great, but I felt that when I was able to move in my own way, I was back to myself. But then I also encourage the student to think about it as the functionality of movement. When you see Teresa move, what do you see? Don't just see, oh, this is a dance form that I don't understand, or that's coming from another world. But this, what is this actually? This is flexion. This is this. Looking at movement differently. So I'm trying to also invite that, because I think, and all of us, and when I'm talking about whiteness, it's not just about white people, it's also about our training. I'm a product of that as well. But luckily, I've been able to travel a lot on the continent and to decenter the thing, because I was inside of it, thinking that everything has to start from ballet, when it doesn't. But it has to start from an understanding of your body and functionality and strong core technique wherever it's coming from. So it's trying to decenter that and to be to also invite them to groove as well. That groove is as important as your leg that is going up. And saying, and also letting them know that me as a choreographer, the first thing I do is play music and say, go on, move. And if you can't move to a beat or you can't groove, I will not work with you, whether you've trained in ballet or, you know. So it's also, it's kind of changing also that mindset, because I think institutions here in England as well have this thing where it has to be a certain thing, when no, as long as you can enter the space and move greatly, wherever, whatever form you have in your bodies with power. You've seen it with the Rite of Spring, with dancers from École des Sables. I was artistic director for 4 years and a half. Most of them have never done ballet, but they're dancing in Pina Bausch's work with excellence, but they've never studied ballet, but they know their traditions, or they know core techniques, from street to underground styles to traditional and, you know, ancestral movement. But because they have a strong core, they're able to enter another language. And that's what I'm trying to invite them to think about. It's about functionality and what do we need to move well. That's it.
And I want to echo that. Good principles around the body will take you anywhere. You know, at the school, we do deliver ballet, but we also deliver different forms of technique. We have our teacher here who's come from Uganda and is giving us a very varied schedule of opportunity to learn things differently, but it is about those fundamentals that really makes the difference to the body. So yes, we can understand the importance of ballet, but we need to know how to use it and to use it to our advantage, because I think there's a good majority of us here that have trained in that dance form. And you know, for some of us, it took us all over the world, which was incredible. But at the same time, it was also about the fundamentals and the freedom to do. And Vicki, you've just worked with a whole group of young people that in the new Sadler's Wells East, and then obviously because of what you did there, you've won the award, which is fabulous. Those young people weren't all ballet trained, if at all. So what was it that you gave them that enabled them to get to the heights of what they did?
The two words that came to mind are an openness and a curiosity to explore. And I think even, I'm just also thinking back to that group, but I can't remember which year it was, but under the guise of Uchenna, we did some work with a set of third year students. Alex, that's where we met, and we were part of that, and we actually brought Our Mighty Groove and created a remix, a Northern School version of that work. And when I talk about openness and curiosity, I remember there was one of the students, you know, I'm coming in, and Viv, who was assisting me, were coming in, and we're doing groove and beat and all the things, and shake and let the spirit take you, and yeah. And this student just turned around to us and she went, "We don't dance in my culture. Music is not, it's not a thing in my culture." And I was really happy that they felt comfortable enough to be open, to bring that into the space. And then that made me curious, because then I'm like, okay, well, you're here, you're in a dance institution, so there is something in you that loves it and is seeking that. So I remember us going on a bit of a journey to figure out what that individual performer could connect to. And right now in this moment, I can't quite remember what their thing was, but there was an activity that they did as part of their culture. So we were like, well, what if you took that as your thing and bring that into the work that we're making? And the transformation was incredible. So there was a willingness to be open. There was a curiosity on, because I wasn't just going, no, just hit the beat, go, 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 go. It was like, okay, what does that mean for you? And that particular student, I mean, all of them smashed it, but there was an extra something because of the journey and the tension that particular student went on. So it was the same thing for our young cast, for Our Mighty Groove, in terms of the professional company, but also our performers as well. And I want to reference Joanne. So I worked with Joanne and also Chloe Dean. And in terms of our movement styles and palettes, we are really, really different. And there was a conscious decision of bringing that mix into the fold. So we have an amazing, all of them are amazing, but there's one of the performers, one of the guys as well, in particular, who would start rehearsals, no warm up, bang, straight into doing the thing, no cool down, then started having injuries. The three of us, myself, Joanne, Chloe, had a chat. Joanne was like, okay, let me go and, just help and steer. By the time we got to tech, we walked into one of just before the shows, and this performer was doing pliés and tendus and, exercising the back, and that came from the space that was created and going, yes, you've got the hip hop, but you can also utilize the ballet, and you can utilize the contemporary, and you can work in the African. And I think for me, this like, I guess the conversation around like the decentering actually is about spotlighting all. Yeah. That's the way that I like to think about it, because they're all valid and they all work, but somewhere along the line there's this really big hierarchy where if it's not ballet, it's not contemporary, then it's not, I've had someone say that to me about, early days of the company, well, your work's not ballet or contemporary, so we can't program you. It's like, are you crazy? So I think there's something in that as well.
You don't know this, but you left me with a challenge after you created that work here at the school.
Oh.
You really did. And it was about ownership of language within dance. And I think the thing that was interesting, it actually wasn't the students that had the problem. It was an audience member that couldn't get their head around the fact that actually you had created this work that was so diverse in language, and they all looked like they owned it.
Oh.
And then they had this conversation with me around, should I have allowed that to be part of it? Do you remember?
Yes, I remember.
And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm trying to understand what the problem is. And I think it was an uncomfortableness about themselves, about accepting difference.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I remember that. And I remember reading the email going, this is the time that you've got. I think there's something around culture. So in some of the, like when I was learning in the early days of like house dance, or learning about like voguing, learning about whacking, there is absolutely a culture and a history. One of the first times I went to New York, and I went to like not the clubs that are advertised in Time Out, but the clubs where like the dancers go. Being in that club, and it's actually that night in the club that inspired me to make Our Mighty Groove. It was in that moment that I realized, I've been learning this dance in London, in the UK, as a style or as a technique. But actually, there's a whole group of people in the States, in other parts of the world, where this is their culture. They've never stepped in a house dance class and learnt what the farmer is. They grew up seeing their elders before them, doing that. So I think for me, there is something in understanding not just the dance forms, but whatever the culture is around it, and then being really clear. And that's why I come back to conversation, so that when that email came up, it was like, I'm really sorry you feel that way. And actually there was a whole process that we went through to get to that. And that's why each one of those performers, even the one who's like, Vicki, we don't dance and listen to music in my culture, came out there and literally gave everything, in their being.
You smashed it. I'm just going to ask the audience here with us if you could prepare any questions that you might want to ask the artist here. I've got a couple that I'm going to ask you, and by all means, anyone jump in and answer them. But what have the panel learned from working across continents as makers? What have you learned from working across continents as makers? Go for it.
That we all dance, we all create because we want to bring community, because we want to celebrate, because we want to collaborate. But how we do that can really shift depending on where you are. So the thing for me is about trust and trusting the process and also being sensitive to whatever the dynamics is not the right word, but whatever that part of the world or those creatives in that part of the world are also having to figure out along with the creativity. Because there are parts of the world where it's fully resourced and it's fine and you've got everything that you need in abundance. And then you've got parts of the world where performers are figuring out how they're going to get to rehearsal each day. Yeah, or you know, how they're being treated, being a part of a project, but maybe they're in a society that's a little bit more of a dictatorship. So, you know, I've had some of those personal instances where I'm like, why are they not doing the thing? What's happening? And someone's literally come up to me and gone, they've not eaten since breakfast. We need to stop. We need to get food. Because no wonder they're looking at me like they want to fight me. They're hungry. So we need to down tools and figure out what do we do to get some meals to these performers. And then maybe we can start, or maybe we need to let the day go and come back again tomorrow.
A little bit of compassion. Is there any questions I can take from the audience at the moment? That's okay, because I have another question for them. So, this one I believe has come from online, and it is, what are the main challenges these days of working across continents, online versus in person? And have you had experience of working that way?
Yes. I mean, I created a whole online workshop for École des Sables based on Aconi technique. So when lockdown happened, I went silent for 3 weeks because I was touring and everything was being cancelled. And day by day, it would be like, this performance is cancelled, this one is cancelled. It's like, gosh, what is going on? And started observing people sharing classes online and doing things, but they were all doing it for free. And I was like, no, we can't be just doing it for free. We are already struggling as artists and, you know, makers, creators, dancers to earn a living. And now we are getting cut and we can't perform and the future looks quite somber. So I don't think they should be doing it for free. So I started researching and looking at what people were doing and then proposed to the founders of École des Sables this workshop system online that would not only give jobs to different teachers from the technique, but would also keep, in a way, the school alive whilst we are on this lockdown, keep presence, keep also people who are in the world not moving, keep them alive by dancing with them, because Aconi technique really can go from really professional to really amateur dancers, and there are different ways of entering it in different ways. So getting people to move, to keep them also present, alive and connected. So yes, I've done that, but I have to say now you would ask me to do it, I can't anymore. I think I was saturated with being alone in my kitchen and performing to the invisible. It was good for a moment, but life and touching people and looking at people in the eyes is nothing, there's nothing, you know, there's nothing better than that. So I would say that my experience is, yes, it was good at that moment, but right now I would rather be, and I feel very privileged that I'm able to travel around the world to be able to share and connect with people. If I didn't have a choice, yes, I would do it, but honestly, I would rather be with the people, be with people.
Yes, online, I also had an experience. It was during lockdown. I had to teach children online. At that time, you are busy doing something and then they see something and then, you know, they look away. So I had like about 10 of them, and it was very difficult to a point of I was like, you know what, let's just talk. Let's just have a conversation. Like, what is going on? Like, how are you feeling now that you are at home, you are logged in? And then also the other one that I did was a dance film. My first dance film, I collaborated with 2 dancers from England and 1 dancer from South Africa. So we did everything online. We applied for funders, we got approved by the NAC, we got approved by the Arts, is it Council England? Yes, and then we did everything online. We did our class, we did our choreography online, everything was online. And even when we were talking about the storyboard, creating the storyboard with our editors, so everything happened online, and we're like, luckily, all the 4 of us, all our walls were white. So we're like, oh, okay, it kind of like worked well. And then most of our doors were brown. So like, oh, great. So we kept everything in the house, from the kitchen to the bathroom to the bedroom. So everything was just around the house. So from that, I loved, or I fell in love with the dance film. And that's one thing that even now, I am in collaboration with heads. I spoke about digital arts, that I wanna create a dance film. I wanna keep on doing that because it was an interesting experience to learn about that. It was my first dance film. And also with my piece that I'm creating now, from the stage, I wanted to also move into the digital art, because I work with different artists. A person who's directing my work, she's a playwright, she's not a dancer, and someone who's composing the music, she's a jazz musician. So I've never worked with a jazz musician before, and she's a pianist. So for me, I wanna go there, and there's someone who's doing a research for my work. Also, he's a writer. So it was a great challenge. Yeah.
And you've just answered pretty much the question I was about to ask. So maybe it's a question for the 2 of you around how do you find new collaborators for cross-art form work beyond the dancers?
For me, new collaborators beyond dance started once I moved into working in theatre. So I did my first theatre show in 2018, and from there I've worked with, it was at the Royal Court, and that really opened up the space to different types of artists. I think definitely my world before then was just like all about the dance, because I absolutely love it. So even with like the team that we that I pulled together for Our Mighty Groove, some of those people came from working on this theatre production. Simon Kenny, who was our incredible set designer, we had worked together on 3 theatre shows before. And actually after the first one, I was like, when the Right Uchenna show comes along, he's definitely on that list. So moving into theatre has really opened up the space for me in terms of different collaborators. And as I said, like the last 2 shows, a world that I've been really exposed to is puppetry. And actually the differences, but also the similarities in terms of movement and design and storytelling. So I think for me, that's what's been able to open up the space, is the theatre world. Because, fight directors and like not knowing that before and going, oh, it's choreographed. There's a whole system, to it as well. Even understanding the director, because before getting into theatre, I was like, oh, the director just tells you, cry, be happy. And then the witnessing, actually, it's a very similar thing to how I work with dancers. There's a real dialogue. The actor is building that character profile and having dialogue with the director. And, so just like negotiating all of that. So theatre has definitely opened up that space for me, and then also had a positive influence in terms of how I make work now as well.
What influences have you had in beyond dance that's helped to produce your work?
I think, like I said, growing up, first of all, in Belgium, but also from a mother that was always dancing, singing, doing everything, that was an influence. But I studied fine arts at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts. So that really helped me with looking at space, textures, colors, in a different way, as an outside eye. But also, when I was younger, I was writing poetry and text. So I feel like I dive into things, and all of those things that I dive into, because in the beginning when I started making, I would do everything from the costumes to the set, to mixing the sound, to designing myself things. I feel like once I got the fundings and the money to be able to get the people, it was really great, because I really realized you can't do this alone. But I really value the fact that I touched all of those things, because my conversations with the different mediums, people I work with, whether it's set designer, costume maker, composer, vocalists, musicians, dancers, actors, poets, fine artists, all of those people, I have a sense of what they do and understand what they do. So we connect on that level, and I can be inside of what they do without taking their space, but being on a better understanding. So yeah.
Yeah, just to add on, Alexandra, we wear a lot of hats. You find yourself that you're a choreographer, you're a producer, you're a director, you're a costume designer, you design sound and all that. And then when you get that fund, you're able to say, "Oh, okay." And then also, it's that a lot of other art forms, I think if once you approach them, you find that, oh, actually they also wanna, collaborate. Because when I approach the director, that person will be directing my work, that's Dr. Refilwe Lebere and Dr. Katla Khochali, and also Tandi Ndulu, who will be doing the music. And then they were so excited, and they'd be like, oh, okay. And then you could feel also like, what, me? Oh, but yeah, I can direct a dance, because something that I've always wanted to, I just want to know what goes into a dancer's mind. That's their interest. So yeah, and also with the costume, I believe that people who are creating costume, they're not just creating costume for the sake of costume, but there is a kind of collaboration, a collaboration between movement and a fabric. And, so that also, I think it's inspired the whole thing. So.
It leads really nicely into this question that's come from online, and I'm going to try and just see if I can work this through, because we've not talked about money. That's one aspect, about privilege and opportunity. So if the question is really just taking us towards the idea of privilege, and with less privilege, this is maybe an assumption around that, from the African continent, have you ever faced the kind of situations where there is less privilege in terms of, yeah, without losing the essence of who you really are? So I'm trying to understand. I think that's all I have from that, but I've kind of taken from that around the fact that actually it's another space, and I guess the assumption of what that space offers is perhaps maybe different to what's here. Privilege is the word that's been used, so you could interpret it that in a way that you feel, but have you a response to? I think the difference is what's coming through, I believe, this question.
I think there's so much. The privilege I have experienced being in Africa is that people are hungry, and when you work with them, they really work. It's like the energy you get back it feeds you as a maker, more so than sometimes when I'm working here, where sometimes you feel people, it's almost like they have so much that they're almost blasé. But over there's like hunger to get and to take and to nurture, and we make everything with anything. So that's also, the creativity is crazy. You see things happening, you see new dances, new things happening every day, because you don't always have everything, so you have to create something. And I think that's the privilege. Actually, it's a privilege also. It's a privilege that sometimes, because of scarcity of certain things, you then create a lot more than people who have a lot. So I would say that that's also a privilege, because yeah, people are blessed to be able to create with not so much, and also be able to train their bodies to have this self-discipline that some of us are waiting to be taught or given, but people are making things happen, creating things, training, building, innovating with not so much funding. People cry here when funding goes, and I'm like, well, some people don't have that funding, but they still making things happen over there, and we keep it moving. And working at École des Sables in Senegal really also taught me that, wow, how can we find other ways of generating funds? How can we find other ways of still making things happen? How can we, generate different forms of income? Yeah, so I think for me, it's actually a privilege. They have a lot of privilege. We look at privilege very, in different ways, so yeah.
Yeah, Vicky.
The thing that came up is you asked the question and Alesandra was speaking, is just around seizing the opportunity. Because the times where I have worked in Africa, so Ghana, Senegal, South Africa, maybe I felt the difference in privilege in conversations and in those kinds of things, but in the studio, it's like, you're here for a week, we want it all, and we want to share with you what we've got to give. So I can really resonate with what Alesandra has shared. So I feel like there's something in seizing the opportunity, and then through the conversations, and I know the space that Alesandra creates, and also the space in which I create, where we then also have the space to talk about the difference in privilege. And actually, it's not a one-way conversation, it's two-way. Because as Alessandra's talking about here, where, funding feels like it's getting scarcer and scarcer. In, that part of the world and other parts of the world, that funding isn't there. So you start to hear the entrepreneurialism that, our brothers and sisters and our counterparts in that part of the world are utilizing. And it's like, oh my gosh, if you can do it with what you have, then surely there is a way for me to do it. So I think there's something in seizing the opportunity that I think we don't do so much in this way, because there's so much choice. And it's like, well, if I don't feel like doing that one, there'll be another 4 things tomorrow. Whereas in other parts of the world, it's like, this is the moment. Grab it with both hands and my feet and my spine. Let's go.
Wow, there's a lot for us to learn, really, isn't there, in terms of what we have and the opportunities we have. The question extends into programmers and what they look for in them. Okay, well, that was a response. That was interesting. Put that into words. Yeah, you can't hide it on the face. You want to put that into words for us, Alexandra? It feels.
I heard programmers, but I didn't hear.
Yeah, there is. Well, it just adding on to that. It just says, so challenge programmers or systems that look for whiteness in the work. I think I understand slightly the kind of, if it doesn't look a certain way, then it's not really something that they're going to buy or program or support. Is that?
I mean, it depends. I think the thing I'll share is programmers, producers, creating work. I just want to see more programming where it's diverse. Like I don't understand when I'm seeing like the same company in a slightly different colored pair of shorts in the same season time and time again. And then it's like, but where are all the other, we're right here. And so I have to be real. I have to be real. So for me, I think that is the thing. And I think there is something about personal taste. And I also think then there's a social responsibility to be able to program outside of your personal taste, because the world is so diverse. So that's the thing for me that, if I'm in spaces or in conversations, that's my challenge. I get that you like that aesthetic, but you can't just be programming for you. You don't have this space, you don't have this building for you. There is a public duty, there's a community duty, there's a local duty to program a range. So for me, that is my thing, is with love, I will always do the challenge of, can you program outside of your personal palette? Because the times and times where I've been told, oh, there isn't, and you know, that led to, you know, in the early days of Uchenna, we used to do an event called Cultural Explosion at Rich Mix. It's 100 seats. It was a nice little intimate thing. But that event was born out of that programmer that said to me, your work is not professional because it's not contemporary or ballet. And I was like, it can't just be me that wants to make work and is making work with a diverse palette. And that cultural explosion, I think we ended up doing it every year for something like 8 or 9 years. And we would just invite, and even the mix on that night was really varied. And I'm like, and we were doing that with what I call a phantom budget, AKA no budget. There was no funding, there was no arts council. It was, how much do we pay for the tickets? How many artists? Okay, this isn't a fee, but it's a contribution to your artistic expression. This is a space where you get to showcase your work. We're gonna invest in someone to film it. We're gonna invest in someone to take pictures. We will share those with you. So again, it's like, if we can do it as a little outfit, I'm just like, what's the excuse for the bigger ones?
Here. I saw a lot of nodding on this side of the room here. Is there a comment that you'd like to add to that, just about the diversity of programming? Just lots of nods in agreement.
Yeah, I feel like. I feel that is the duty of a programmer. Hey. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
I'm James. Nice to meet you. I guess never heard it articulated in that way before. That like a programmer's duty is to program for the audience, and also like part of their role is to be researching everything that's happening, and to order to then make the right choice. And I guess that's part of their role, is to be educated on everything that's happening so they can make like a varied choice. And I never heard it expressed in that way before, so we were like,
I could see that.
we really agreed with that.
Excellent.
Can I add something?
You
Because
can.
I've had the hat of the program, almost sitting with the programmers. In my role as artistic director, co-artistic director, I was in Mozambique at the Biennale of African Dance. And I was sitting with all these programmers, hearing them talk about the artists. That was really interesting. I learned so much and realized that the programmers will go for a piece because everyone's going for it. That's one thing that I've noticed where, this is cool, we all want it. Are you programming it? I am, me too. Let's go, let's all do it. So we save money, we get this artist here, you program it. So it's a bit of a gang, in a way. The programming field is a little bit like a gang of people, all noticing certain artists and making sure they're going through their theaters. And it's not always people that they know, but they trust the other programmers. So they'll program it, the artists also, because you said they were good. So let's go, let's do it. Let's all agree that we're all gonna program that artist. So it's quite tricky in a way. It's a bit more complicated. And unfortunately, what Vicki said is, it's so true, because some of the programmers will say, I don't think my audience is ready for this work. It's like, but do you think the audience is stupid? Or so it's that challenge. It's this. So I really love the programmers who are like, okay, I don't necessarily like this piece, but I think my audience will like it, or I think there'll be people who love this. And I always rate those programmers. I also had the chance of being an artist advisor as well for Sadlerswell at some point, because Alistair was like, I don't know everything. I like what I like. So maybe I need people to help me. So I would be like, go and see this, check this out. These people are from, just to open also their perspective, because they're very narrow-minded. And that's why sometimes they will program the same companies with different colored shorts.
It's very interesting, because I think I would extend a welcome to hear your thoughts. You're here as students with us. We have a theatre, we're in our theatre. It'd be really wonderful to hear what you think and what would be great to invite, because you're absolutely right. It's not about what you like as a programmer. If you're not serving your audience, then quite frankly, there's a big question about what it is that you're there to do. Yeah, just there's a whole range. And so I encourage you to have that conversation with us. And is the that was programming is a very interesting thing, because you kind of alluded to the fact that you have gatekeepers in our business, unfortunately, and sometimes you have to find ways of breaking that barrier and not even being risky, because I think it's only just recently that we've been told that cultural art is now valuable art. I was like, well, we've known this all along. You're only just beginning to realize it's of value to you. So there is a way in which we can approach that. We can change the status quo, I believe, and encourage others to do so. So it's not about being brave. And that's another thing. I think it's not bravery that we're doing, that we're changing the program and the status quo. We are serving a bigger audience that looks more diverse than what we have currently serviced before.
And it's about being you, because I think for me, that's like, I remember the beginning days of creating Uchenna, and I would literally be thinking, what does Mateo, and I'm just using your names because not that this actually happened with you all, but what does Mateo want to program? What is Sharon thinking about? What is Helen, and really trying to like make something to already fit into what I think their palette was. It was exhausting. Now, it's not been easy, but it's been very freeing, stepping into, this is who I am, this is the work that I make, this is why I make it. And actually, the people that it's meant to attract, it will attract. And it takes time. I remember the days when myself and Grace, who is our executive producer, would email people and just get tumbleweed. And then a few years later, we would email people and we'd get a response, but it was a no. And we'd celebrate, because it's like, wow, they came back to us and they said no. But at least we know we're doing better. And then getting, you get the email response and then it's a yes. So that's just one thing I would say to everyone in the room, but especially those, the students that are coming through. I know it's so hard right now, but like your superpower, your gift to this world is being who you are and making the work that you want to make in the style that you want to make it, and your people will find you. It may not be easy, but it will get easier. And you want to get to wherever you want to get to, sitting in who you are, not feeling like I've compromised or I'm actually only bringing 10%. So just please, please know that your superpower is being you.
Vicki, that's a wonderful message to the students here, the staff and the wider community. Is that your final message as we wrap up? Would you like to you sure?
Be you, students, adults, those of us that have been doing it for decades, lean into who you are and find your people, because, even 12 years, Our Mighty Groove, 2013, didn't know what I was doing. 2025, still didn't know what I was doing, but we made it happen to getting the award. Your superpower is being you, and find your people, find your community.
Excellent, thank you. Alexandra, that does deserve a round of applause, I think. What message would you like to leave with our audience?
That was the message. No, that was the message. Truly, truly, truly. Stay in your lane. Remember to invite people in your journey. Some are going to stay, some will go. But remember where you're going. Follow your own journey. And don't always look on the side comparing yourself to others. There's room for everyone. So just do your thing. And like I say sometimes to people, especially those who come to École des Sables as students, if Germaine Acogny stopped at 50, she wouldn't have École des Sables. And she wouldn't have most of the accolades that she has because she got them after 50. So the journey for some is long, and you have to keep it moving, because she's 81 and she's still on stage. I'm just using her because she's such an inspiration in terms of that if you keep going, you keep being persistent, you eventually get to something. Repetition is key. Keep working on your craft, and also keep learning. Don't think because you're a certain place in your life that's it. I keep going to classes. I'm inspired by the people I teach. I'm also inspired by other artists. I'll go to class. Even when I was leading the school, I would go at the back as an artistic director and take class. I don't care. I'm still training. I'm still gaining, and I'm still growing. So I think just stay humble and keep it going.
And I think that deserves a round of applause too. Thank you. I'm going to give you the final word as you're currently in the moment. What is your last final message to the audience that we have here, based on the fact that actually tomorrow you enter the studio again and you continue this journey? What would you like to leave us thinking about?
Be you, be honest to yourself, and stay in your lane. Yes, it's not easy, but never give up and be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. Your time will come and the time will tell when it is right. And because also with myself, just stay humble. And then I've been in this journey, and then today I'm here. And some people, they don't know how I got here. But with the patience, the grace of God and my ancestors. And I also just want to say thank you to Verve, and also being the first artist to be part of this residency. Oh. What an honor. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
And I'm going to say thank you too. I'm going to leave it right there, because those messages are poignant, those messages are real, and those messages are there for you. So thank you very much for being here. This is the first of, I hope, many. Stay in touch with us. Our email is online. You can find us. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you and to continue this conversation. So the dialogue doesn't stop, but you will continue being you and connect with us. Thank you very much.